What if the past you thought you knew was built on lies? For Michael Hayes, a routine day in a crowded jewelry store would unravel an 18-year mystery and lead to a revelation that would change everything. Michael Hayes was not just a man of wealth, but one of influence, whose days were filled with boardroom deals and high society engagements. Yet, deep within the opulent mansion he called home, silence reigned, a silence that whispered of loss and unresolved grief. It had been 18 years since that devastating morning when his daughter, Emily, then just 7, vanished without a trace. Her room, untouched since her disappearance, was a shrine to her memory. Sunlight filtered weakly through heavy curtains, casting a soft, mournful glow over her toys and books, still waiting for her return. Michael's first wife, Catherine, had been the love of his life, a bright force who brought laughter to every room. She passed during Emily's birth, leaving Michael to raise their daughter alone. The tragedy of Catherine's passing had only deepened when Emily disappeared, ripping away the last piece of their shared joy. Years of relentless searching turned up nothing, only dead ends and faded hope. Michael's life became a shell, occupied by business ventures that masked the void, until one day a hint of fate intervened. It was during a routine shopping trip to New York, a rare gesture of goodwill towards his second wife, Claire. The day had been intended as a distraction, a temporary reprieve from their strained relationship. While Claire's excitement for Fifth Avenue's glittering boutiques bubbled over, Michael drifted through the shops with a detached air. But inside a luxurious jewelry store, something caught his eye and made the ground beneath him seem to shift. A young saleswoman, her dark hair neatly tied back, moved gracefully behind the counter. Around her neck was a pendant, delicate yet unmistakable, a tiny emerald set in silver, just like the one Michael had given Emily days before she disappeared. His heart thudded painfully in his chest as memories surged back. Emily's giggle, her small hands touching the cool metal, eyes wide with delight. "Michael?" Claire's voice interrupted his thoughts, her eyes narrowing at his distracted gaze. But he barely heard her as he stepped toward the counter, his hands trembling. "Excuse me," he said, voice unsteady. "That necklace, where did you get it?" The young woman glanced down, fingers brushing over the pendant as if it were part of her. "Oh, this?" she said, smiling softly. "It was a gift from my mother." Michael's breath caught. "Your mother?" "Yes," she nodded, the smile fading as she noticed his intense stare. "She gave it to me when I was little. It's the only piece I have left from her." The world blurred at the edges as Michael struggled to compose himself. His mind screamed with questions. Could it be her? Could Emily, his Emily, be standing right in front of him? Sensing the weight behind his silence, Claire touched his arm. "Michael, what is going on?" "I need a moment," he muttered, stepping back. His pulse raced with the implications. If this woman was Emily, how had she ended up here, wearing the very symbol of their connection? He needed answers. That evening, restless and consumed by possibility, Michael made a call to Paul Miller, a private investigator he trusted more than most. Within days, Paul returned with startling information. The young woman, named Lily Donovan, had been found as a child, wandering alone near a town far from the city, with no recollection of who she was. A local couple had adopted her, and life had moved on. But Michael couldn't let it rest. When he returned to the store, the air was thick with anticipation. Lily looked up from her work, her eyes wary but curious. "We need to talk," he said, trying to keep the urgency from spilling into desperation. I think you may be someone I've been searching for." Her brows knit together, confusion darkening her expression. "I don't understand." Michael swallowed hard. "Your name might not be Lily. It might be Emily, my daughter." Shock painted her face as silence settled between them. For a moment, it was as though the noise of the world outside ceased to exist. "I don't know what you're talking about," she whispered, fingers clutching the pendant. But doubt had crept in. Michael's story rattled something deep within her, memories she didn't know she'd buried. It was the beginning of an emotional, painful journey, one that would take them from disbelief and confrontation to a fragile, tentative hope. Over the weeks that followed, Emily grappled with the truth of her past, the life stolen from her, and the parents who loved her but had unknowingly built their lives on hidden secrets. Michael, in turn, faced the final betrayal, discovering that Claire, his second wife, had a role in orchestrating the disappearance, driven by jealousy and ambition. The path to healing was not easy. There were tears, nights of anger, and moments when it felt as though the bridges they tried to build were too frail. Yet, through shared stories and old photographs, a new bond began to form. Emily, now an adult with pieces of Lily still intertwined in her being, chose to reconnect. And Michael, for the first time in nearly 2 decades, allowed himself to feel something other than loss. They would forge ahead, not as the father and daughter they once were, but as the family they could still become. If this story moved you, please share your own moments of rediscovery or hope in the comments. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more stories that touch the heart and inspire new beginnings.